Now they are misappropriating the TA guidelines to justify their actions during the last board meeting. This is just wrong. I have no other words for it. The thing that angers me the most, more than anything else, is that those who have the knowledge, resources, and access to the system can always rig the game in the names of rules and laws. The second thing that really aggravates me, make me fuming, is politics in the name of science. Nowadays, using Google search, anyone can find news articles, blog posts, paper from journals you never actually read, and taking things out of mixing facts with speculations, claiming to be data and science driven. Okay? Trustee Bond and Trustee Weston, I have been holding back from saying this for a very long time as a professional courtesy, but I will say it today. You know very little about medical science. Neither do I, just to be clear. But I know a bit more about viruses and vaccines, as it happens to be the focus of my research work. We all need to be consciously aware that we do not know what we don't know. There's no doubt COVID took a heavy toll on the mental health for many, many people, adults and children, whether it's from the anger and the frustration of social isolation, or from the fear and anxiety of contracting the virus, or the sorrow of losing family members and dear friends. Everyone, every family is different in suffering. Please do not paint the effect of the pandemic as the effect of masks. Masks are not the enemy. We have a common enemy, COVID. Trustee Weston, I understand that you have completely lost trust in the health authorities. You no longer believe that masks work. You trust your own interpretation of the data and advice from your social circle. Empirically, in the United States, it is true that the effectiveness of the mask mandate is often obscured by many other confounding factors, and the actual compliance rate and how many people are actually wearing the mask correctly. We, as a nation, failed. The United States spent more on healthcare than any other country in the world, and we rank in 174 with regard to population density. Yet we have the most cases and the most deaths. Other countries have successfully controlled the spread by no means other than mask wearing, social distancing, testing, and contact tracing. And that's part of the reason our schools are doing better than the general community. Trustee Weston and Trustee Bond, you claim that you heard stories after stories about the harm that's done to students as a result of mask wearing. I know neither of you has elementary level kids. You heard those stories from your social circle. I have an elementary level kid. I went to many of our elementary school campuses on a variety of different occasions. All I can see is despite all the challenges, there's a lot of challenges. The little ones there are extremely happy to be at the school. And the teachers there are amazing. What our on-campus teacher and staff had achieved during the past school year is nothing short of remarkable. I don't dole out praises that often. I often dish out criticism. But I'm truly grateful for what our teachers and staff did for the kids, especially for those kids who had no choice but to go in person. Thank you. For those who believe masks are harmful to children, I can tell you that in Asia, in Asian countries, such as Japan, long before COVID pandemic, children as young as kindergartens already wore masks at school during flu season. No study has found that wearing masks had any detrimental effect on children. Although the Japanese government did warn the public that children under 2 should not wear a mask. You may say, that is Japan, another country. Right? We here, America, United States, we have free will. Here is Texas, we're cowboys. Here's an interesting fact. During the 1990 Spanish flu pandemic, some states in the United States issued mask mandates. At that time, 2 Japanese newspapers published photographs of people wearing masks in the United States. And the Japanese government later endorsed a mask wearing campaign when the number of cases there went up there. And since then, there's a new word in Japanese, masuku, mask, which means mask. Okay, they got the words from English. People learn and society evolve. If we truly want world-class education, maybe it is beneficial for us to take a look around the world, not just look at the rural counties in Texas and follow whatever their school district are doing. I'm a nerd. I'm not good at words, but I'm good at numbers, and I read a lot of papers. I don't read newspapers, I read papers, actual papers. Since last Saturday until noon today, the entire board had received more than 350 emails regarding masks, regarding this issue. Among them, I counted 39 that do not want the mask mandate. Okay, so I may have missed a few, but almost 90% of the emails we received wanted to keep the mask mandates. And many of them are from parents who currently have in-person elementary school students, writing with their own personal stories. For the 39 emails that do not want the mask mandate, many are simply a copy-paste of the tax education code with no context. Okay, even a few even addressed the wrong correspondent to the city officials, and one to another school district. And since today's noon, we received another like 70 more emails asking to make the mask wearing optional. Almost all of them are exactly the same, citing a long list of articles and papers that have been soundly debunked as false claims and misleading interpretations. For the sake of time, I'm not going to dispute every one of them. Okay, you can just Google search for the answer. I will just talk about the last paper on that list, the universal masking in the hospital in the in COVID-19 era, published in the New England Journal of Medicine. After the authors of the paper found out that some people are using their paper to mislead the masking effort, they wrote a letter to the editor, and the letter was later published in the journal. It starts with this: we understand that some people are citing our perspective article published on April 1st at New England Journal of Medicine as a support for discrediting widespread masking. In truth, the intent of the article was to push for more masking, not less. I don't think I need to read the rest of the letter, okay? Just because one can read the dashboard data does not mean one knows science. Trustee Weston, I never in a second doubted your good intention. you truly want to help. I want to give you as much grace and compassion as I can. But in the end, I have to give you the truth. You don't have the necessary math background to be able to interpret the data correctly. Probability and risk calculation is not as simple as one number divided by the other. And the CDC paper you mentioned earlier, and the CDC paper you put on the messaging board, you put on a messaging board post, the research that found 1.8 difference in the spread of COVID when mask mandates in place versus when they are not. You wrote this negligible difference on the message board. I won't go into the details. I will only say this. If we can get 1.8 difference in daily growth rate, which is what this paper is actually talking about, it will make huge difference. Please consult a data scientist or actually talk to Trustees. Maybe she can explain the math behind it to you. We do not know what we don't know. I have said numerous dumb things on topics that I'm clueless, but I won't post false claims on the message board that is already circulating on social media, but have soundly debunked. Anyone just need to do a Google search and look at the factcheck.org to know that is false. Last bit of science from me today. More and more people are getting vaccines, but we are racing against time with the virus mutations. Health organizations around the world are increasing their sequencing capabilities so that we can identify and track variants that may have an impact on how the virus is transmitted and the working of vaccines. We're not yet at the place where we can relax the safety protocol, especially at the school. I know many people are not just tired, they're exhausted from all the safety measures. I understand that. But please, if nothing else, hang on a little bit longer for your own children and for the children who don't have access to quality healthcare. SARS-CoV-2 virus has many open reading frames, coding for proteins whose role in pathogenesis we still don't know. MIS-C is just one syndrome in children that we're studying now. I'm a scientist. I wish we knew more. But the truth is that at this point, right now, we really don't know much about the long-term effects of COVID yet, especially with children. This is true science. There's a huge difference between fearless and between reckless. Finally, I want to talk about diversity. April is the month of diversity for the district. I want to say this to the public. I believe the biggest strength in the current board is diversity. We have a diverse background and deep expertise in many different areas. And this board is the most educated board we have seen in many years. Trustee Weston, her perseverance is unparalleled. She spends hours and hours of talking to parents, teachers, community members, and patiently listen to you, even if she disagrees with you. I have less than 1/10 of her dedication to this volunteer job. Similarly, Trustee Bones, I have nothing but admiration for her work for the board on the RFP and the charter for the oversight committee, the bond oversight committee. I have less than 1/10 of her intelligence and knowledge in many, many areas. Make no mistake, I can be in vehement disagreement with them on one issue, but I can also be an ardent supporter of them on many other issues. This board, if we can refocus our attention back to educating our kids, we can achieve great things together. I would like to read a poem written in the year around 1080 by a famous Chinese poet, Su Shi. The implied message of the poem is perspective. similar to the ancient Indian pose, blind man and an elephant. I have put both the Chinese version and the English translation on the message board. Here I'm just going to read in Chinese. 题西陵壁，苏轼。横看成岭，侧成峰，远近高低各不同。不识庐山真面目，只缘身在此泉中。Thank you, Mr. President. I move to keep mask protocol as is for the remainder of the spring semester.
Madam President, as you know, it sounds like that's a substitute motion, and you would have to ask if there's a second for that. And if there is, that motion would be taken first for a vote.
I will second. Or you can do it, Tiffany. I'll let you second it.
Thanks, Trustee Vasa. I second that motion.
All right. So we have a substitute motion and second, but I saw Dr. Bowen, you had your hand up.
Yes, I think there's been a lot of questions tonight about the context of why this has actually been brought in front of the board. And I think context is extremely important. And I think we need to understand as a board that even the motion that Dr. Shaw just made, that there are other mandates that we have to talk about. And that motion may not mean anything if we don't talk about these. So on March 4th, we had a meeting, and at the end of that, I had already been made aware that TEA would be changing the guidelines, because if you remember, the governor at that point had already said that he would be lifting the mask mandate for statewide on March 10th. My request was not added to the agenda, so we didn't talk about mask on March 25th, I believe. On March 26th, I sent an email to Dr. Presley, and I made Trustee Weston aware. And as the board knows, only 3 of us can talk anytime outside of these meetings. We can't have a fourth. And I let Dr. Presley know that there was a TEA mandate that had came out on March 12th, which I had wanted to talk about in the March 25th meeting, but was denied. This is a mandate. Our lawyer, I worked with Mr. Ponick. I made sure that I understood this correctly. And the governor had given TEA the ability to tell us what we need to do as a district. After much conversation, emails with Dr. Presley, and asking some of the language in the mandate, such as wherever it is not feasible to maintain 6 feet of social distance from another person, that students could take off their mask. These were mandates. This is what we live under. We can make all the policy we want, but as Mr. Ponick will tell you, we have to meet TEA. So much of this that you've seen on the message board from Trustee Weston came from this mandate. As the governing body of the school system, we can modify it. There are parts of it that Dr. Presley can modify. Although there are things that we have asked for, because if the administration does modify it, there's things like developmentally appropriate. I believe I heard a community member talk about this. And I will give the community the acknowledgement that this was actually brought to our attention. I believe if I go back, it was sent to everybody, or I found this on Facebook, but the community is actually the one that made me aware of this TEA mandate. So this is a TEA mandate. These bullets we have to address. And I guess maybe Doug, I don't know how that motion would work if it's just that we're going to keep doing what we're doing now. Because it doesn't, that is not, it says that the above mask related requirements. So I think we need to take a more formal action and actually do this. I would like to finish my story in the fact that the reason that this was added, and I think Dr. Presley, you can back me up. I have the email, but Dr. Presley asked for this to be added. So for all the trustees that don't know the history, for the community that doesn't know the history, this is why we're talking about this tonight, is because TEA changed on March 12th. They changed the guidelines and they gave us the job to change them. So this isn't two rogue trustees. This is two trustees trying to do what we've been entrusted to do, and that's follow TEA mandates and do things the correct way. I will say that we had a meeting with Dr. Presley this week, and Ms. Wilkes and Ms. Hefner were on there, and I was a little disappointed to find out that they actually didn't know that these were mandates. So we have some alignment in the district that we need to work on. But like I said tonight, we need to figure out what we're going to do and how we're going to change these, if we're going to change them, and the wording we want to use. Our community has that right. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. And I guess I'll just follow up. We do have two motions on the table, but the TA guidelines do say that the governing board of a school system may modify or eliminate by formal action the above mask-related requirements. Is Dr. Zhao's motion to keep the mask mandate as is for the rest of the school year?
If he's saying, and I think you've heard the superintendent represent that they are following the mandates, and if Trustee Zhao is saying he wants the district to continue to follow the TEA mandates, then it's an appropriate motion. I would argue it's not necessary because the TEA mandates are mandates. So the district is required to follow those mandates, and if it wishes to depart from them, the board is authorized to do so by that same TEA mandate. But if the board takes no action, the district is still mandated to follow those requirements. And there is no action required of the board in order for the district to follow those mandates.
I think we're just, I guess in my opinion, I would like us to confirm that if that is what the board wants to do, which correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Zhao, I think that is what your motion is, to confirm what the district is currently doing as the will of the board.
Yes.
Which is
Madam
to follow
President,
just to clarify,
I wonder if there's just value in voting up or down on mine, because then it would sort of equate to the status quo if that's the will of the board.
I'm going to let Doug finish, but actually we'll have to, I don't have my Robert's rules things here, but I think we have to do his first.
That's correct. I was just going to say, just to clarify, the way I understand Trustee Zhao's motion is he wants the district to continue to follow the TEA mandates as they have been.
As they have been.
Oh, prior to the March 12th modification?
No. The TEA mandates that are in place right now are the ones that the district has to follow.
Well,
okay.
that would be consistent with the document here that would say that any person younger than 10 years of age, except where a school system determines it's developmentally appropriate, doesn't have to wear a mask. And then, the ones about exercising outdoors or maintaining, so I don't think that's what he's asking for, because he would like to continue the current protocols that the district holds, which is that all of our students wear masks. And they did make that exception for outdoors when they're more than 6 feet apart. And of course, they don't have to wear a mask while they're consuming food. That's impossible.
Trustee Zhao, is that what you're saying?
I don't know how to interpret it. I just want the current protocol.
So, yeah.
The current district protocol, not the TEA protocol, because the TEA protocol is reflected in what Trustee Weston actually said.
Dr. Presley, so we had a meeting Monday, Doug, and Dr. Presley, I think we worked this out that we're actually following the current mandate fairly closely. Trustee Weston actually edited the current mandate, but I see Sharon turned on her camera, so maybe she's had time to look at it.
I want to be clear. We keep using the word mandates. What TA gave us were guidelines, and when the governor's order went in place, in the guidelines it says a district can continue to do what they're doing. The thing in play for me is that my understanding is certain board members think that I don't have the authority to make these decisions. And so that's why it's on the agenda. I didn't, you said something earlier, Dr. Bone, that I wanted this on the agenda. I didn't want this on the agenda. I wanted to solve this and move forward. But it was my understanding that you thought that I didn't have the authority to make these decisions. It was with the board. And so
yeah, that was per Doug Connick. So,
but this is TA guidance. This isn't a TA mandate. These are TA guidelines. So I'll be clear
I think we worked
that.
this out Monday though with Ginny too. I mean, Ginny and Doug have told me, and Trustee Weston, that these are requirements, which are, Doug uses the term mandate.
Yeah, I think we just need to call for the vote and see how we move forward.
Well, we've got to know what we're voting on. I mean, I don't want to kick this can down the road, President Weir. I want to be very clear tonight what we're voting on, because I don't want to have to go. If we're unclear, you can guarantee that Trustee Weston and I will continue to fight that we are following what we say. So we need to be clear on what we say. Thank you.
My advice is that you make a motion, or if Dr. Zhao's motion is to follow the TEA mandates, that the requirements that TEA imposes on districts, absent board action to change them, that if you want to follow those mandates and continue to do so as a district, that's a clear motion. If you want to modify what TEA requires, then I would ask that you be clear about which things you're modifying.
Okay. Who wants to modify them?
I would like to make my own motion right now to maintain the current COVID protocols in place in the district through the end of the school year.
So what I put, I wrote one too.
Yeah, you don't have to give me a second. That's fine.
I wrote, I just added the current protocols in place by Round Rock ISD administration through the end of the 2020-2021 regular school year. Because I don't know that we're making decisions about summer school, correct?
I don't think so. I mean, I think this is just, we're using the TA date, the school year 2020-2021.
But does summer school count as a part of the 2020-2021 calendar school year?
You can clarify the motions that I think are being proposed are through the end of this full school year, not to address anything beyond that. You can always come back and modify again if you have to for summer school.
I'm curious what we tell these parents that came tonight that had personal stories. I'm just really curious if anybody listened.
I'm going to let Trustee Harrison has had her hand up, and then we got to figure out our motions.
I feel like Dr. Zhao's motion was very easy to understand, and that's just that we maintain current protocol of masking as is. So, Doug, I don't understand the reasoning behind redoing the language, and that feels very unclear and shifty.
No. So I'm just reciting to you the language from TEA's mandate, and it gives a set of criteria that districts are expected to follow. And then at the end of that, it says, but if the board wishes to modify or eliminate these requirements, it's free to do so. So if whatever the current practices are at the district are a deviation from those mandates, then yes, the board can do that and approve that tonight. I just want us to be clear as to what it is we're saying is the deviation for the sake of clarity. If everybody seems to know what that is, fine. But my assumption and understanding has been that the district is following the mandates.
Yeah, I don't think there's, I mean, from my perspective, I think the district is following the mandates. I think, though, that there is a question about it maybe in the general public. And I think this motion from Dr. Zhao was just to affirm, for this board to affirm what the district is currently doing, to say that we believe they are following the TEA guidelines, and we want that to continue through the end of the school year.
And that's fine with me.
And can we just affirm this mandate then?
I think the motion that Trustee Zhao made it speaks for itself. I think it's stated in the way that that he prefers to have it stated, and I say that because I think if you're saying let's just agree to follow the TEA mandates, I think that's assumed already. I think he is trying to address the fact that the district is following it in the way that it's following it. He supports the way it's being followed. And I would say that that's really a truer representation of his motion.
So my understanding of the mandate, so the first one, any person younger than 10 years of age, except where a school system determines it's developmentally appropriate. They have determined it's developmentally appropriate for all of our students to wear masks. So I don't think that's in violation of the TEA mandate, what we're doing, because they determined that. Already, any person with a medical condition or disability has that exemption. Already, you don't have to wear a mask when you're consuming food or drink. Already, we did exercising outdoors or engaging in physical activity outdoors. And maintaining a safe distance from other people not in the same household. That was a change that the administration has already made. The only difference I don't know that we have this last one or not. Any person while the person is giving a speech for a broadcast to an audience. I think that actually really is an important one because it speaks to our board meetings and as to whether in our board meetings we are required to wear masks while on the dais. I
don't know that you need to sort that out tonight. And the reason I say that is because you're going to have situations where people are speaking at meetings, board meetings, and I don't know that that particular provision is meant to reach that. We can get clarification from TEA as to what they mean by that in this circumstance, just as we got clarification on the issue of the 10-year-old developmentally appropriate issue. In that case, TEA said we're not expecting there to be a case-by-case, student-by-student assessment to determine if it's individually developmentally appropriate. And you can imagine the logistical challenge of having to do something like that. With regard to the making speeches and so forth, it's conceivable that what's meant by that is someone standing in an auditorium or in some group setting, but apart from folks, perhaps at a podium or what have you. So I don't know that particular point is meant to include board meetings. That may be too broad an interpretation of that provision. But I don't think you need to figure that out tonight.
Well, and I don't think we need to figure. I mean, if Dr. Zhao's motion was to keep the mask mandate as is for the rest of the year. Right now, the way the district has it, anybody inside a district building has to wear a mask, right? So we would be modifying that one as TEA allows us to by maintaining what the district is doing. So even if you were giving a speech or broadcast for a broadcast or to an audience, if you're inside a district building and Dr. Zhao's motion passes, you're the way it is right now is you have to be in a mask, right?
Yes.
Right. So I mean, we're modifying it.
And if I could just speak when it's my turn, President Weir.
I think she's frozen. Amy, you're frozen.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Danielle.
Yeah. Danielle, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm really going to ask to push the pause button here because I'm going to caution this board. I've been in schools. I've been in the administration building. And there's a reason that TEA has been very specific that it is not required to wear a mask as long as you're socially distanced. Ever since I've been elected and I've been in these school buildings, I go around all the time and I see adults who, while socially distanced, are not wearing masks. Tonight in the administration building, I walked around. I saw adults in a school-owned property building, socially distanced, not wearing masks. I'm going to caution this board, if you are headed towards some sort of police state where people are going to start reporting each other, if that's the kind of atmosphere and culture that we're going to be cultivating. But there is no law. There is no state law. There is no city ordinance. There is nothing in place. And I will not be wearing a mask. And to expend any effort to try to force a vaccinated individual who is socially distanced to wearing a mask is going to be unsuccessful. It's not going to work. So I'm really going to caution this board towards going down that path. We are all adults. We need to, at a minimum, respect the TEA public health guidelines, and any motion to change them should be to loosen them, not to make them more restrictive. That is my advice to this board.
Ms. Harrison,
That honestly feels like a threat to me, and that doesn't feel, it feels like a threat to me. And I don't know what is so hard about saying we want to leave things as they are right now. That is the motion on the table as I understand it. If we need to be more prescriptive in the language and go through every category, let's do that. Trustee Zhao, you're a man of very few words, and I appreciated every single one of your words tonight, and I want to say thank you. So could we draft prescriptive language based on the amazing words that were shared tonight? If that is the motion.
Do we need to take a short recess for, Doug to, to put together language that would address?
Well, we have two motions with seconds on the table, so we should at least get through those the way they are. And then if we need to, if nothing passes, then we can figure out something else to go forward from there.
That if we need to, we can even pass a motion and then pass another motion clarifying, correct?
You can do that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we had a motion from
President Weir.
Yes, I'm sorry, Trustee Feller.
No, that's okay. I think there's enough confusion about exactly what is entailed into the motion that we really do need to pause and clarify. I know we have two motions on the board, but I think there's enough confusion that I'm not comfortable voting because I don't feel like there's even a clear understanding of exactly what we're voting on. And I think this is something that's critical that we nail exactly on the head. So I will defer to you as president, but I do feel maybe a brief pause to just make sure, and maybe we do end up going with these motions. Maybe we end up making a third motion that is very, very clear. But I do think that a pause might be warranted to just make sure that we are crystal clear on what we're exactly voting on.
It sounds like actually a couple people want to take a pause, so we can take just a few minutes. Doug, do you maybe want to, I don't know, are you asking for Doug to maybe work with Dr. Zhao on his motion, or maybe Jenny?
Well, I think I get the gist of what he's trying to say, and I think there's support for it, but I want to make sure that the words that we use are exactly mandating what we want to happen. Because we've talked about both sides of this debate, even in the seven of us, have said, use the word mandate and guidelines, and we're following, we're not following. And so to say we want to follow the TEA mandates, well, Danielle has said that her motion is to follow the TEA mandates. And then Trustee Zhao says that we're following current mandates, so let's follow those mandates. So I think by just saying follow TEA mandates is not clear at this point.
And just to be clear, my motion was actually to loosen 2 of the bullet points.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think if we just vote up or down on that, I think that would provide the needed clarity.
So let me just restate what I've said, I guess, several times. TEA says you have to follow these particular rules. Now, there's room for interpretation on some of those. Like there's the phrase, you are to require masking, but you don't have to in certain circumstances to the extent it's feasible to maintain spacing. Okay. That is not a mathematical expression. That is a, reasonableness. How are you able to manage spacing? Do you have a classroom, for example, that has kids moving from place to place, or will occasionally do that and come within the 6 feet? How do you constantly measure the 6 feet? Do you have a way to do that that's manageable? Do kids go from one class to another? Do kids interact with adults? All of those kinds of moving parts. So I think there's a reason why that language is in there. It is not a strict mathematical 6-foot measurement analysis. So your district is required to follow those mandates, and it sounds like they have been following them. There is some room for interpretation within those, and if they've been following that and doing that, and applying their interpretation, I don't think you need to do more than if you want to just keep things as they are, so long as they've been following those rules and using the discretion that is found in those rules. So I think that that's why I keep coming back to, if Trustee Zhao is saying, yeah, I want the district to keep doing what it's doing, that is continue to follow the mandates with the discretion that's permitted within those bullets and so forth. If that's what he's saying, that's clear. Trustee Weston's motion is clear, because she's saying she wants the mandates to be followed, but with regard to 2 bullets, she wants there to be 2 changes. One with regard to what happens to kids or people outside, and then one that happens to kids that are 10 years and younger or under 10 years. And that's clear. So I think that's really the 2 motions. I don't know that there's anything else that we can sort of engineer.
Makes it very clear to me. I'm sorry, I interrupted you, Tiffany.
I think maybe this will provide clarification. Is Dr. Zhao's mandate that we need to, or motion that we need to continue following the mandate with current modifications?
No, it's continue to follow the mandate as the district is doing where it's exercising discretion where it's allowed under those mandates. He wants that to continue. That's what I think he's saying. I'm sorry, Trustee Zhao. I'm trying to put words in your mouth.
So can we just say, Doug, something like, follow the TA mandates as written or as stated?
I had actually written down, after Doug maybe modified Trustee Zhao's keep mask mandate as is the district is doing, as the district is currently doing.
I just don't think that's clear because it doesn't reference anything.
That's correct. I mean, we've got people in our district, even tonight on the Zoom call, in school buildings, participating, staff members without wearing a mask. But that's consistent with TEA public health guidance because they are socially distanced. So I'm really guys, it's not a threat. If we try to tighten down what is already very tight, I am very concerned that people are going to start taking pictures of each other, reporting each other, taking videos. I think we need to trust people to make the right decisions based on the guidelines, socially distanced. I'm recommending caution here. I would like my motion personally to be voted up and down on the 2 loosening on bullets number 1 and 4 that I put forward. I would actually appreciate an up or down vote on that. That is my ask.
Okay, let's vote up or down. Can we decide to vote up or down on Trustee Weston's? And if so, then what happens next? So we need to vote up or down.
Well, we can't. I mean, Robert's rules, unless.
So can we
had my
withdraw?
book.
Can Dr. Zhao withdraw so we can
Yes.
vote up or down on Trustee Weston's?
If there's no objection from the board, he can withdraw it because it's been seconded. Usually someone withdraws a motion, but it's been seconded. So if there's no objection by the board to take them in the order that they were made, that's fine. But you have to agree to do that. And not by vote, just is there any objection to doing what Tiffany is proposing?
Are you okay, Dr. Zhao, if we withdraw yours for just a minute?
And is the procedure.
Okay.
I can do that.
You're okay with that?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay. So if he withdraws his motion and there's no objections, then we can vote on Danielle's motion, which was to April 19th through the end of the 2020-2021 school year. First, make it clear that masks are optional for students under the age of 10. And second, make it clear that masks are optional outdoors under all circumstances and that masks are not required indoors while exercising for all persons. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed? All right, so that motion fails.
May I just say a word for Dr. Presley?
Sure.
Dr. Presley, thank you for bearing with us tonight. You have been a warrior with this team, this new team, as we are navigating uncharted waters as new trustees in a very difficult time, and I appreciate your patience with all of us. Thank you.
I guess the question is now if we feel like we need to validate what the district is currently doing for Dr. Zhao's, or if he wanted to bring that motion back, or if anyone.
So I think Doug can clarify this. If we don't do anything, we just stay with the TE mandates. So we actually don't have to do anything.
That's correct.
Well, but I mean, I guess I want to clarify with you then, Dr. Bone. I mean, are you saying that you believe that the district is abiding by the TA guidelines, or?
So we have asked them to, we asked Dr. Presley if he would just say how they determine developmentally appropriate. I think you heard a community member ask for that. So I think that's something people have asked for. There is the one that says any person while the person is, outside maintaining a safe distance. I know there's a lot of
okay.
Yeah.
So then that's my question though. I mean, because if we leave it, then it's not over unless we validate, I think, what the district is doing is. So I think
the problem is the district itself isn't, I don't think these are necessarily clear even in the district, President Weir. So I don't know if we can wordsmith this all tonight.
Well, I would like to make the motion.
Can I say something or no?
Can we hold on just 1 second? I would like to make the motion that we maintain the current Round Rock ISD COVID protocols put in place by this administration for our district through the end of the 2020-2021 school year.
Second.
Can I get clarification on what that means?
Yeah, what does that mean? Where's the document? What are you referencing? Which protocols? Which version? What exact protocols? Which TA mandates are you not
answer
doing?
that question since that's her job.
Yeah, Sharon can answer that.
Okay, so a couple of things that I've heard, and I want to address those really quickly before we go on. I've been doing a lot of research, obviously, all year long. And all of the different ones that we've talked about, the national, the state, and the local different agencies, and I can list all of them for you, and I can give you all of the links, all state that age 2 and above, 2 and below should not wear masks. So anyone above the age of 2 on all of the CDC, the Department of State and Health Services for Texas, our Williamson County, and our Austin Public Health, all are in agreement with that. Now, one of the things you brought up is TEA, and this is where I wanted to jump in. On March 2nd, Governor Abbott issued Executive Order GA 34, which rescinds GA 32, which is the mask mandate. And TEA's authority to implement operational requirements for public schools continued to remain in effect. However, what I think you all are missing is that there was another document that came before TEA released its public health guidance. And on its website, here's what it says. As a result of lifting of the order on masks, TEA updated its public health guidance. And under this updated guidance, a public school system's current practices on masks may continue unchanged. Then it goes on to say local school boards have full authority to determine their local mask policy. But it says you can continue unchanged. There's no reason not to, because it's all on this TEA site. And then the next day came out these public health guidance. So again, that's where we're saying we're in alignment, we're doing fine, because you can continue your current practices unchanged. And just so you know, the current practices are that all staff and students should be wearing masks. And those who are not do get talked to about it, because they should be wearing masks. All of our staff and our students should be wearing masks. That's what it is currently. And if you want to look, you go to the safety and health protocols that is on our website, and that specifically lists everything in regards to masks.
I do have a question and a clarification though, Sharon. I mean, I know that like many in our administration have their own offices, and it was my understanding that they could shut the door and not.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If you are in your own office by yourself, you can absolutely shut the door and not wear a mask.
Where is that at in our protocol? Which document is that, so I can find that?
It's in our safety and health protocols. But if you're looking for specifically in an office, we're not in offices for the most part when we're in schools. And so it's not in there that if you're by yourself. But if you're by yourself, yes.
So it's not really written, it's just kind of known. It's not written down.
It is not written down.
And this is where I'm just going to caution everybody. I think this is going to be dangerous if we try to go down this road of saying even when people are socially distanced, that we're going to try to impose some sort of requirement. It's going to be very problematic, because there's going to be all these little exceptions that people are going to think, and it's going to be very problematic.
I'll make a comment on that. We've been fine. We've got 6 weeks of school left. When I'm at my office at 6 o'clock in the morning, I don't wear a mask. Nobody else is in the building. If I come in the administration building, I expect people to follow those rules. Once I know somebody's in the building, if I go out to go to the restroom or I go to somebody else's office, I put my mask on. So if you've seen people at the administration building tonight, not everybody follows all the rules all the time. That's a district with 7,000 employees. We've been fine. So if somebody wants to take a picture of me coming in the building at 6 o'clock in the morning and not wearing a mask because I'm the only one there, they can have at it. Just like tonight, the two trustees that wanted to be in person, I said, I'll make a place for you, which I didn't have to do, the Rio Grande. Danielle, I can tell you're not in the Rio Grande. You're in another room.
Right. So, to avoid the echo, I did that.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I'm not criticizing that. I'm just giving that as an example. So if you went to the restroom tonight in the administration building, we asked everybody who could to go ahead and leave, because we still have people that are uncomfortable being around folks that are unmasked in an indoor environment that's not their family. So we told folks to clear out before the meeting started tonight so we could accommodate you guys. And if you saw somebody without a mask on, I'm sorry. If I see somebody without a mask on, I'll say, hey, put your mask on. And sometimes I've forgotten, they've told me, hey, put your mask on. So, but we're trying to follow the rules. We've done pretty well. I don't think we have a lot of people that are out to get other people by not following our mandates. And it's just a reasonable, sensible thing. Let's get through the last 6 weeks and I'll have some compassion and, figure it out after that. So that's all I would say is that
Dr. Presley, I think what Trustee Weston is cautioning, and I'm just going to bring this up because this is a real thing. There was a petition by 1,700 people that want masks on. Yeah. Hold on, please let me finish. There is a huge group of people in our district, and it's bigger than 1,700, that want masks on. In fact, the majority of the speakers tonight were people that want masks optional. The battle will come. I mean, we need to realize tonight to be very careful. That's what Trustee Weston is trying to caution us. If we want to start a mask battle, we can start it tonight. And that means, me included, I will become a mask police. Yeah, if I see you, Dr. Presley, at 6 o'clock in your office with your mask off, you're right. I will bring it to the board. And I will take names and numbers of every person I see. When I see coffee with the principal and I see my principal's mask off, we're going to start that battle tonight. If that's what we want, then we can start it. Otherwise, we can be reasonable and we can listen to our community. And all they're asking is that when their children are 6 feet apart and socially distanced, that they can take their mask off in a school building. And it's reasonable. We are one of the most restrictive, if not the most restrictive. And if we want to be like Austin, let's be like Austin. Have you seen Austin's ISD? You know what? They're going down the drain. I've sat and watched it. Is that who we want to be? Not listening to our public and not being reasonable? We're wanting to make it tighter than TEA. TEA is just like, hey guys, here, do this because this is pretty reasonable. And here we are talking about it making more restrictive. And here we have our own superintendent saying, yeah, some of our people don't follow it. I don't follow it. My daughter both of my kids go to school. I have a daughter that sits in a classroom by herself. She has to follow it. I've heard of them sitting in classrooms with no teachers and they have to follow it.
Yeah, don't put words in my mouth. I didn't say, hey, we don't follow it. I said, we're doing it pretty well. We're trying to get through a very difficult year. We're down to the end. And so don't put words in my mouth that I said, we don't follow
I apologize.
What I said. That's not
I
what
apologize.
I said.
Well, you actually kind of did. You said when you're here at 6 o'clock, you don't follow it. So that is what you said. I wasn't putting words in the mouth. You said, hey, I don't follow it ever when I'm here at 6 o'clock. That's how I heard that.
I totally said that, and I'm too tired. I'm not going to argue tonight. So I totally said that. I did say that. If I'm the only person in the entire administration building, I may not have a mask on.
Yeah, and I'm really sorry that this is like maybe, the last thing we talked about, but this is really important to a big part of our community. And I know the budget is coming and we need to take a look. Do you really think we lost 3,000 students because we don't offer virtual and because we didn't mask well enough? I'd ask us to take a pause. We are getting ready to do something that has bigger implications than, oh my goodness, it's 12:40 at night and we need to vote on this real quick and just keep doing what we're doing and get through the next 6 weeks. The next 6 weeks will be a battle with half of our community that wants their children to have a little freedom.
Our community should not be making decisions about safety for other people's children.
You're absolutely right.
Still in the middle of a global, I'm still talking. We are still in the middle of a global pandemic. And whether or not you all want to acknowledge it, there have been several threats made tonight. And none of this is productive towards what we actually need to be accomplishing. And this is not an environment where we can flourish as a board. Or I'll speak for myself, because this is not an environment where I can flourish as a board member because there are literal threats being made. The staff has asked, can we maintain for 6 weeks to get through this endless school year? I don't know what vote needs to be called. Amy, I don't remember if you put a motion out.
I did in a second.
Okay, so can I call the question, call the vote, whatever the language is?
Yes, you may call the question. I will second that. Do we have 5 people that want to vote on the motion to maintain the current Round Rock ISD district COVID protocols put in place by the administration for the district for the 2020-2021 rest of the 2020-2021 school year? Are there 5 people that would like to go ahead and vote? All right, I see 5. So we have the motion to maintain the current Round Rock ISD district COVID protocols put in place by the administration for the district for the remainder of the 2020-2021 school year. All those in favor, raise your hand. All those opposed? That passes 5-2.
I need clarity on that, please.
The health and safety protocols are on the website. I'm sure maybe Sharon can send those to us.
So we still have not addressed the TA mandate, which is the last bullet, Doug, it says the governing body has to modify or eliminate by formal action the mask-related
That
requirement.
was formal action.
Yeah, that was the
That
action.
was formal action.
Right.
So did we modify them or did we eliminate them?
You either are adhering to them or you've approved the modifications that are ongoing to the extent that there are modifications. So
well, that's what we don't.
You're covered either way for purposes of the motion.
Yeah, but I'm talking about for purposes of the requirements of TEA.
Well, TEA says you can modify, which if you modified, you just approved the modification if there is indeed a modification.
Right. We're approving what the district is doing right now for the rest of the school year.